to introduce the next speaker, which is Mick Kavanagh, your Land Registry Group President. I don't think he needs any more introduction than that.
Thanks very much for that, and yeah, thanks very much for coming, and thanks for that introduction, Cheryl. It's very difficult having to follow John McDonnell. I have no idea how he does that on a day-to-day basis. The meetings I've been to with the Minister, with him, he'll be talking about what you're going to discuss walking across the road towards the Ministry of Justice. I'm unclear to this day how he's not been run over, because he just walks straight ahead and pays no attention to the traffic or anything else, but he manages to deliver something like that at whatever event he goes to, and we're absolutely delighted to have him on board and supporting the campaign. From my personal point of view, I was elected to lead the Land Registry Trade Unions in May of last year. A great privilege that was at the time. Little did I know, not 2 months after that, I'd be in a situation where the employer was revealing to me that they were planning on cutting 25% of the workforce, closing 5 offices, and all of the rest of the industrial vandalism that they've proposed during the ATP submissions. Since then, you know, a young shy boy who works at Stevenage Land Registry had to cope with TV, radio interviews, meetings with government ministers, a whirlwind tour of all of the Land Registry offices. And I think at some point somebody's going to wake me up and tell me that this is one big wind-up and we're not facing the sort of issues that we are at the moment. Well, I think Liz will be able to, in her contribution, illustrate that this is a complete joke rather than a wind-up. Now, what today is all about is obviously a chance for us to lobby our MPs, get them to contribute to the early day motion that's been submitted and apply additional pressure on senior government ministers in order to change the ATP proposals. But it's also about, as John has said, gearing us up for what lies ahead. And it's important that we take the mood back from this rally to our branches, explain to people who can't be with us today and non-members exactly what the mood is, and that there is a real alternative to what is being proposed. Now, our response, we, or Liz in particular, is in the process of concluding the final touches to what's been sent to us. And this involves all of the contributions that members have sent to us since the publication of the ATP proposals. And I think we'll be presenting this to management on Monday. We'll then circulate it to all of you, all of the MPs concerned, everybody who's been a recipient of the alternative vision, the press, etc. And Liz will go into detail about this in a minute. But I believe what we have in our document, in our submission, is a detailed critique of the business case, and which completely exposes the fundamental flaws in what management are proposing. And bearing in mind that that's been written, their proposals have been written by a consultant on in excess of £27,000 a month. That's about 3 times more than the Prime Minister. I think they've completely wasted their money there. Far from saving money with the ATP proposals, the money they've spent on consultants, which will go into detail in our submission, will be exposed for all to see. There have been a lot of problems in the consultation process. Now, people will remember there was a delay to the announcements being made on the 22nd of October. They were due the week before that. The reasons for this delay was a number of financial issues that needed to be raised in the business case, but also that the Minister asked Land Registry Management what would the impact be on the wider job market. How many people would be looking for a job? How many people would be made compulsory redundant against their will? What are the economic situations like in the areas that are earmarked for closure, etc. So it was a key piece of information that Land Registry provided to the Minister before he signed up to those proposals. We asked for that during the negotiations with the employer. They refused to give it to us. And it wasn't until we told the Minister about that and lodged the Freedom of Information Act request that management actually supplied that information. It's riddled with inaccuracy, as we'll explain in the submission that we make to management and government. And they've generally been completely disruptive and obstructive during the course of the negotiations. And on to the Manthorpe submission. Isn't it telling that a former chief executive should see fit to write such a scathing report on what accountants at the top of Land Registry are doing at the moment. A fantastic effort from him, and we're extremely grateful for his contribution. And it absolutely illustrates that the Land Registry Board have no monopoly on wisdom. There have been many other responses that have been issued as well by the FDA, our sister union for the lawyers, individuals and various other groups, etc., that we've lodged a Freedom of Information Act request for that we're going to receive in due course. As John mentions, we've had a lot of meetings with the Minister already, and crucially, the Minister has agreed to convene a meeting after the consultation period has closed for the parliamentary group, myself, Liz, Land Registry Management, to get round the table with the Minister to thrash out the differences and actually go through the submissions. So I think that that will be a really worthwhile event, and we thank John as much as we possibly can for enabling that to happen. And in the Manthorpe submission, it's absolutely clear that he didn't do it on his own. He was clearly assisted by existing senior members of management who have a real problem with the ATP proposals. And what we need to do is we need to give strength and we need to give the confidence to those people within senior management to continue to speak up and illustrate that the Land Registry is split at the top of the organisation. Those who know about Land Registry oppose the proposals, and that's what we need to get put forward in the public domain. And before I finish, I'd just like to thank a few people for this event. I think it's absolutely overwhelming from my point of view, the amount of people that have turned up, the amount of work that's gone into it. I'd like to thank Chris Boff, the NEC, Cheryl, and the campaigns department, in particular James Davis, for all of the work they've done on the alternative vision setting this event up. I'd like to thank Roger Seifert and Mike Ironside for writing the alternative vision. I'd like to thank my group officers and my group executive committee for the campaigning work, the work they've done on the response, the support they've given me, and actually keeping me sane throughout this process. I'd like to thank branches and members, not only for today, but for the great response we've had from all of the individuals to the ATP proposals, and the massively increased meeting turnouts that we've had in Land Registry, not just on ATP, but on pay as well. And obviously John MacDonald and the parliamentary group for all of their assistance in the meetings. The campaign, obviously today, is just one strand of an overall strategy. We need to carry on the lobbying process. We need to recruit the non-members. We need to be prepared to stand together in whatever action we need to take to defeat these ludicrous proposals and the attacks on our civil service compensation scheme. We have to clearly illustrate how serious we are, and today has been a fantastic start. We've only got one chance to get this right. The jobs and the services that we provide the public absolutely depend on what we are doing at the moment. And I'm absolutely certain that together we can make a difference, and if we remain united, we'll be able to defeat these proposals. Thank you.
Very much for that, Mick. It has been a baptism of fire for you. I've sat at some of your GEC meetings, and I would have to pay tribute to you actually for how well you, with the other officers in the GEC, have risen to that challenge. I would have to say as well that the meeting that Michael Woods is going to convene with the parliamentary group and your management is a real achievement. That's a very unusual thing to happen, and I think it allows you to put Land Registry Management on the spot and question them on the back of all the work that's been done about the ATP and get them to answer questions to you individually, stop hiding behind paperwork and mythology about this being customer-led, which you know is nonsense, we all know is nonsense.